This is another Kundalini experience, an account found on Reddit by Indubitably Blessed 1 year ago. My Kundalini experience so far and a few questions. The link is in the description below. Dear our Kundalini users, I just created a Reddit account after stumbling upon this sub while looking for answers about Kundalini on the internet. I've never posted anywhere before and thought I could share some of my experience thus far and hopefully gain some insights about things from experienced users as I continue this strange journey. Here goes nothing. I'm in my mid-40s and coming up on 3 years since I had a spontaneous Kundalini energy activation. I was not previously a spiritual practitioner of any spiritual practice. Everything began one day in late October 2020 on my lunch break while I was sitting in my truck doing some breathing exercises trying to alleviate chronic neck pain. A sudden, unexpected, extremely powerful vibrational energy shook my whole body for several minutes. The next day I could sense an energy brewing within me below the surface. That night I was compelled to go to my basement away from my family to see what would happen. The episode I experienced lasted as long as I allowed it, which was about 45 minutes. The energy had me performing spontaneous asanas and kriyas. At the time I didn't know to call them that. Within the first week, the energy began to show definitive signs of omnipresent intelligence, and from that moment I experienced intense ontological shock. I remember Googling omnipresent intelligent energy making me do yoga poses to begin investigating what was happening to me. I eventually stumbled upon the term Kundalini and felt it best described some of what I was experiencing. Despite not understanding what was happening to me, I never felt afraid. The energy has always been benevolent. Since it started, the energy has seemingly been trying to heal long-term body pains. I have a lot of them. I went through months of emotional darkness as it dug up repressed trauma from my childhood and allowed me to release a lot of it. Lots of crying without a thought attached to the feeling. Very unsettling for a person who doesn't cry often. My daily practice has been to go to my basement and ask the energy to emerge and perform its healing/unblocking work, generally at night after my family goes to bed. I can ask the energy to appear whenever and wherever I want, and it will. I can ask it to work on a certain part of the body, and it will, or I often just let it surprise me. Everything I experience is spontaneous, kriyas, asanas, and hand mudras, etc. And I don't know what any of them mean. I often wonder why I'm being guided to perform particular asanas or what specific hand mudras sequence mean, but I haven't been able to find that info as of yet. If I don't dedicate enough time to the process, I often wake up to a healing process happening while I was asleep, and then it keeps me up at night in bed sort of secretly doing stretches, etc., while sleeping next to my daughter, we co-sleep, and wife. I clearly have massive amount of stored trauma in my body. The Kundalini energy has been working on me intensely since the beginning with no sign of slowing down, and it has been quite painful at times. Sometimes I feel like it could take another decade to get through it all. I have major blockages in my legs, hips, shoulders, neck, heart, and probably lots of other places. One thing that I experienced that I haven't read about anywhere and wonder if anyone else has had similar experiences or insights is as follows. During a healing session, the energy often guides my hand to form a fist and deliberately, repeatedly pound, tenderize painful parts of my body like certain big muscle groups with deep tissue pain, for example, quads, calves, glutes, and fascia. Sometimes it uses nearby object to create leverage pressure against a certain area. Either method is generally intense and painful, but in a therapeutic sense. I've increasingly learned to turn off mental suffering associated with general pain in order to allow this ongoing healing. I've also had a lot of intense leverage pressure applied against the middle of my forehead in various ways, which I would like to understand the significance of. At the end of some sessions, the part of my body being worked on has significant bruising. This element of my healing process sounds crazy, but it's become a normal part of my life. I honestly don't know how I could ever get to that kind of relief by any other method from the deep tissue pain that has been there for as long as I can remember. Another thing I was hoping to get insight on is, in the last few months I've often been guided to perform the bandhas neck lock several times during a healing session. After this started happening to me, I researched it until I found a technique that described the mechanics of what I was experiencing and read about how to do it if one were to be doing it consciously. The instruction generally says to hold the neck lock for as long as is comfortable. I haven't been able to find an instance of someone undergoing a spontaneous neck lock. When it happens to me, I have the ability to stop it whenever I want, but I can feel the energy pushing me to hold it for as long as possible, far beyond what is comfortable. I've been thinking a lot about these experiences, and my gut tells me that the energy is pushing me to hold the neck lock until I lose consciousness in order to force me to face my fear of gasping for breath as I die. Once again, I realize how this sounds, but this is what I experience on a regular basis. I've undergone countless spontaneous neck locks where I try to hold on for as long as possible. Then I get an intense pressure in my head and the eventual sensation of not being able to take a breath, and I try to push past that point, but my survival instinct and fear always has me break the neck lock and gasp for breath, like being trapped underwater and finally finding the hole to the surface. It is mildly traumatizing, but also feels like a necessary painful part of the metamorphosis. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Has anyone heard of this or knows what is happening in this case? I have so many questions and accept that the answer might not be available to me. I feel blessed that this process has entered my life, and although the path down the unknown road must ultimately be walked alone, I still feel lonely about it from time to time, as I have no one to talk to about it. Most of the time I take the I don't need to know how the sausages are made approach, so I don't drive myself crazy analyzing every single Kundalini phenomenon that happens to me, because I trust the process, and I just don't have that kind of a time right now at this point in my life. I'm the sole provider of my family, with a toddler and an infant. However, I'm a very curious person, and if I did have the time, I'd definitely devote more time per day to healing and probably some rabbit holes. So this is where I'm at, my family, my work, and my spiritual path. Everything else that was there before has faded away. Thanks in advance to anyone who took the time to read this and who may have insight that could help. That's it. So if you want to comment on this one, I read, no comments can be posted. But yeah, just a bit of sharing. There you go. Hope that was enjoyable.